What's going on, everybody? It is finally Friday. I am here just getting ready to launch a video today. I will see you guys in the comments section on that one. Now, although I do work from home for my regular job, I have to go to the office 1 to 2 times a week to pick up driver paperwork. Otherwise, no one will get paid and then they can't build turbo Miatas of their own. And that's not fair. It's about a 20-minute drive, and you know what that means. Street tuning time. We gotta rock and roll. Yeah, shopping for a new phone. This is a Pixel 3 and the Bluetooth hasn't worked in like 6 months, which I don't really care that much about, except for that you can't use Draggy without Bluetooth. I'm bringing Draggy with me, by the way, to test its accuracy against the time slip. So I'm gonna try to get another phone before the event so I can do that as well. I always try to go to the office between like 9 and noon because that's when I get the least amount of calls. So on the way there, I'm just gonna test out a couple different duty cycles on open loop boost control and see approximately what it's gonna take to get around that 20 to 21 PSI level. The toughest thing with this turbo is getting it to actually maintain full boost all the way to redline because the turbo is really maxed out. So depending on air temperature and other factors, the turbo might only be able to achieve 20.5 PSI or 20 PSI on a given day, but I just want to do everything that I can with the boost control to make sure it stays as high, at least as the turbo is capable of. I never really thought I would do any like vlog, if you want to call it that. I don't know, like this style of video, because I always thought like people only care about the finished product, but recently I've been thinking there might be a group of people that is actually interested in what happens just outside the realm of car passion. What makes everything tick? So, and oh my gosh, the overwhelming positivity on the videos this week are crazy. Just like a lot of people actually enjoy them. So as long as you guys keep enjoying videos like this, by golly, I'll keep making them. All right, let's go get into some boost. Hello, can I have a California burrito with pollo asado and no guacamole? Thank you. You too. Well, that was an ordeal. The first place I went to, like the machine broke down or something. Everyone was just sitting in line for 20 minutes trapped in an oven. It's so hot. This is why I take the NB. When it's above 90 degrees, this entire building is about to lose 20 horsepower. Now it's really a vlog. Cheers. Okay, let's review some data logs. Now, I'll try not to bore you guys to death with the data log and the tuning stuff, but this is pretty important to what I'm doing in this video. First, real quick, the air pressure coming from the compressor is what opens the wastegate. If you just run a vacuum line from the turbo compressor to the wastegate, it's just gonna open at spring pressure. Now, a boost controller intercepts that signal and controls the amount of air pressure that the turbo can feed the wastegate. At 0% duty cycle, the boost controller will let all of the air pressure into the wastegate actuator and it will open at spring pressure. If you run the boost controller at 100% duty cycle, it won't let any air into the wastegate actuator and the turbo will just make higher and higher boost until it explodes, the engine blows up, or there's so much pressure in the exhaust that it forces the wastegate open. And that's the problem with running too soft of a spring, is the exhaust pressure has too much influence over the wastegate and you're not able to control it with the air pressure and the spring. So let's take a look at that first pull. So we're at 38% duty cycle across the board. Yellow is RPM, green is boost pressure, and red is duty cycle. So when I get on the throttle, the boost comes right up to almost 20 PSI. So that's good, but you can see as the pull continues, the boost starts to drop down all the way to 18. We got a flat shift here. You can tell it's a flat shift because the boost only drops down to 7 PSI. It stays in positive pressure. And then into fourth gear, the boost does come right up to almost 21 PSI. So open loop is a little inconsistent, but it's only within a couple PSI window, and it's very easy to tune quickly. I can rough out an open loop boost control map in like 15 minutes of driving. But I do not want this boost tapering down throughout the pull, because how much power the car makes through the whole pass really matters. So come over to your open loop boost control table. Now this is a table of duty cycles where you have x-axis as the RPM and y-axis as the throttle position. And of course I always do boost by TPS, so if I come on the throttle at only 40%, I am not making full boost, nor do I want to be. So what I have done here is taken the table and tapered the duty cycle higher as the RPM climbs. All right, so let's take a look at another pull here. You can see when I get on throttle, boost comes right up to 20, which is good. And this red line shows that I'm tapering the duty cycle up throughout the pull. It's still dropping off a little bit, but it's only dropping down to 19 PSI, so we're making improvements here. So I adjusted that table some more, and now the boost is still coming on. I have it set to 38% here. It's coming on right at 19 pounds like before, so I know I probably need to raise that up a little bit. But now I have a much more aggressive taper on the duty cycle here. I went a little overkill on this one, and we ended up at 23 PSI at 7,000, which I'm not mad if it goes above, 21. As long as it's staying above 20 somewhere, then we're good. It's tuned up to like 24, 25 PSI. I know the turbo is not making any extra power above 21, so that's why I say I'm happy if it just stays around 21. But yeah, this is kind of roughed out right here, and when I get it to the strip, it's going to act different again. So I'm going to data log those pulls, and then if I need to make some fine adjustments, I can do so at the track. All right, now on my way home, I'm going to do some testing with the ignition retard and virtual dyno and see how much power I can draw back in first gear to try to get this thing off the line. Laptop battery's going bad, so it just died. But luckily, I do have the tablet still, so I can do some tuning and data logging with this. It is a bit of a pain in the you can see how big my finger is compared to the buttons, especially when you open up the tables. But you know what? We're gonna make do. So this is what I want to try. I want to do a few different runs in third gear where I have good traction, just on wastegate spring, and I want to see how much power the car makes at full timing, then retarded 5 degrees, 10 degrees, and 15 degrees, and see how much that power drops. I'll check all that in virtual dyno with the data log that I'll take. I just kind of want to get a difference of how much torque gets pulled out versus like 5 to 10 degrees of timing. I'm doing the 15-degree test right now, and it is way slower. Oh my God. Why did it have to be 100 degrees today? I'm dying out here. And my phone's overheating, the GoPro's overheating, the tablet's overheating, I'm overheating. The car surprisingly is not overheating. I don't know why I'd be surprised, but it's running fairly well, it seems. Right now I'm going to test to make sure the timing retard on launch is actually working. I've never tried it before, so I don't know if it works. So all I'm going to do is just take a basic data log with that active, and then I can go back in the log and it will tell me, oh, the launch retard was active during this time, and then I need to go home and cool off. I couldn't get the launch feature to work, but I wasn't gonna spend 2 more minutes out there. Way too hot for that. Not fun. Okay, this is the last bit of boring data collection that I'm gonna spring on you guys today. I just find this stuff so interesting, I can't help myself. So check out these virtual dyno pulls that I just did. These are 3 identical pulls on the same stretch of road. The only difference between them is the red pull has 21 degrees of ignition advance, the blue pull has 11 degrees of ignition advance, and the green pull only has 6 degrees of ignition advance. So on the very first pull, the red one, the car made 258 foot-pounds of torque at 14 PSI. Now something interesting you'll see here is as I retard the ignition timing, the boost is actually raising, even though it's just on spring pressure. And that's because when the ignition is retarded, you're putting more heat and energy into the exhaust, and it's naturally spinning the turbo faster. But as you'll see up here, it is no match for the ignition retard. On the blue run with 10 degrees of timing pulled out, the car only put down 239 foot-pounds of torque. And on the green pole with 15 degrees pulled out, this is only 6 total degrees of advance. The car only made 217 foot-pounds of torque despite running over 2 psi more. Now, 217 foot-pounds is going to be a lot easier to put down in first gear. Now, this information is very important. I actually got the launch timer working, and I'm going to take you guys out to the Miata right now to show you what that looks like. So this is what the Miata is going to look like leaving the line next week. I'm kidding, relax. What do you think, this thing has Brent's MR2 Moon Tune on it? Let me introduce you guys to launch mode and the launch timers. So in order to put the car in launch mode, it needs to be stopped, the clutch needs to be in, and you need to be on launch control, whatever your limiter is. Then, whenever the car leaves launch mode, the timer will begin, and anything you have set up to happen during a launch that's timed, those events will begin. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Now I have the launch control set to 1800, so I don't annoy the neighbors too much, but I'll do a little demo going into and leaving launch, and I want you to pay attention to a couple things here. This chart on the right side is the amount of ignition retard on the y-axis and time on the x-axis. So once the car leaves launch mode, a timer will start, and then I can program the ignition timing to do whatever I want as the car is launching. Now it's the same with the boost control duty cycle. 0% would be spring pressure, and watch how it gradually raises the boost when I leave launch mode. As soon as I leave launch mode, watch that boost duty drop, and the ignition retard timer will begin. Now, slowly feeding boost and ignition back in as the launch continues. Now I haven't done any actual tuning with this yet, but I have a good idea of where I want it to be. I just watched some of my old drag racing footage, and I can see that the car is in first gear for roughly 2 seconds. So all I'm gonna do is retard the ignition 15 degrees for the first 2 seconds of the launch, and I'm also going to put the boost duty cycle at 0 for the first 2 seconds of the launch. So boost pressure will be as low as possible, the ignition will be retarded, and the car should only make about 215 foot-pounds of torque. Now, I might just be able to ramp it up to full send in second gear. We'll see if the strip is prepped well to where the car will grip, but if not, I can slowly feed in the boost and ignition to increase the power as necessary. All right, well, that's all I got for you guys in today's video. The event is only a few days away. I'm getting excited and nervous. I really hope this thing performs at its peak. I hope you guys are pumped too. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are new. Smash that like button if you learned something, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.